pointing out the principle.
What principle?
The don't fuck your best friend's boyfriend principle.
That is what I am trying to tell you, Mom. They weren't boyfriend and girlfriend. God!
I don't care. I just want to watch my millionaire matchmaker in peace for 1 hour. 1 goddamn hour. Fuck.
It is kind of one of the most remarkable things I've seen an actor do of recent memory.
You hurt that moment so much. So much. This is bad. This is really, really bad.
I was kind of dreading having to do it. I was very scared to tackle that.
Yeah.
And also knowing that on top of just kind of this massive blowout where the pain is coming to a head and getting to a point where you can't hide it anymore.
The Euphoria finale aired, the cast posted, fans posted, HBO posted, and Zendaya said absolutely nothing. No Instagram, no tweet, no story. No wrap photo. Complete silence from the woman who carried that show for 3 seasons and made Rue Bennett one of the most talked about characters in recent television history. And the internet immediately knew what that silence meant, because Zendaya had spent years telling anyone who would listen exactly what she wanted for Rue, and the finale gave her something else entirely. Let's break down what happened, why people believe she's unhappy, and what the whole situation says about how Euphoria ended. First, the spoiler. If you haven't seen the finale, this is your warning. In the final episode of Euphoria, Rue dies. Elliot gives her laced pills, she takes them, and her story ends in tragedy. The show that started as a raw, honest portrait of addiction and the people who survive it, or try to, ended with its main character not making it out. Sam Levinson, the creator, addressed the ending in the press cycle. His explanation was direct. People like Rue don't make it. He framed it as the honest ending, the realistic one, a reflection of what addiction actually does to people who can't find their way through it. That statement confused a significant portion of the audience, and here's why. Sam Levinson has said repeatedly and publicly that Euphoria was drawn from his own personal experiences with addiction as a teenager. That he was, in many ways, Rue. And Sam Levinson is alive today. He made it. He built a career. He created the show. So when he sits in a press interview and says people like Rue don't make it, the first question becomes, then what was the show actually saying this whole time? What was the point of following someone through years of relapse and rock bottoms and family pain if the ending was always going to be that she doesn't survive? Sam also introduced another angle during press. He said he made season 3 to honor Angus Cloud, who played Fezco and who passed away before the final season. He framed the ending as being for people who weren't granted a second chance, as a tribute to those lost to addiction rather than a story about someone who found their way through it. That's a meaningful thing to say. But it sits in direct tension with everything Euphoria had been presenting itself as since the beginning. The show had built years of audience investment in Rue's survival. The message of hope that Zendaya had been publicly attaching to the character, that recovery was possible, that people like Rue could make it, was woven into how the show marketed itself and how its lead actress spoke about it everywhere she went. To understand how differently the finale landed from what Zendaya had been building toward with this character, you have to understand what she said about Rue over the years. She described Rue as someone she genuinely loved and felt protective of. She spoke about wanting audiences to see Rue as worthy of love even at her worst, especially at her worst, because she believed that if people could hold love for a character who made terrible choices, maybe they could extend that same grace to real people in their lives who were struggling with addiction. In a 2022 post after season 2, she wrote that she hoped people watching could go through Rue's lowest moments and still see her as worthy, still have hope for her future, and that through Rue's story, they might develop a greater understanding and compassion for real people fighting the same battles. She said redemption was the most important thing to her. She said she knew Rue could make it because Sam himself was proof that people like Rue could come through the other side. That's the thing that makes Sam's finale comments land so oddly. Zendaya was publicly using Sam's own survival as the argument for why Rue deserved to survive. And then Sam ended the show by killing her. People who had been watching the behind-the-scenes dynamics closely noted that the relationship between Zendaya and Sam appeared to shift somewhere around The Idol, the HBO project Sam created and directed that came out between seasons 2 and 3 of Euphoria and became one of the more publicly criticized shows in recent memory. After The Idol, observers started noticing that the warmth Zendaya had previously shown towards Sam in interviews seemed to cool. Whether that's real or just how people read body language through a screen is hard to say with certainty. But the theory that their creative relationship had changed by season 3 was being made gained traction because of what happened publicly during the delay. The gap between season 2 and season 3 of Euphoria was longer than anyone expected. Rumors circulated about why. Sam being occupied with The Idol was part of it, but the more persistent story was that Zendaya, Sam, and HBO had not been able to agree on the direction of season 3. That there were creative disagreements about where the story was going and how it was going to end. Those rumors were never officially confirmed by any of the parties involved. But the timeline of the delay and the way the season eventually released, with less promotional energy than the previous seasons, kept that narrative alive. During the promotional cycle for season 3, something was noticeably different. The cast didn't bring the same enthusiasm to press that they had for the earlier seasons. Zendaya specifically seemed measured in how she talked about the show in interviews. When asked what to expect, her answers were vague. She acknowledged it had been a compressed filming schedule, that it felt like it flew by, and that she hoped it turned out beautifully. She also let slip, before HBO officially announced it, that this was going to be the final season. In an interview she was doing for her film The Drama, when asked about Euphoria, she essentially confirmed the show was ending. Not through a formal announcement, just through how she spoke about it. Like someone who had already processed something being over and wasn't keeping up the pretense that it might continue. After the finale aired, Zendaya's mother posted on her social media. She said she had received a lot of messages about the episode and was going to keep her thoughts to herself, but that it made her sad and brought up other emotions she wasn't going to get into publicly. She said she was just going to leave it there. A mother publicly saying a TV finale made her sad and brought up emotions she wasn't going to name, and that mother being Zendaya's, communicates something without saying it directly. The family watched the same ending the fans watched, and the reaction in that house wasn't celebratory. The only footage HBO released of Zendaya from her final day of filming was a short clip where she thanked the crew, said it had been a pleasure and an honor, and called the wrap. She was gracious, she was professional, and she said almost nothing about Rue, about the ending, about how she felt about where the character landed. The absence of those things is the most telling part. Zendaya spent years telling people she believed in Rue, telling people Rue could make it, telling people that Sam's own life was the proof. She built a public relationship with this character that was about hope and survival, and the idea that even the most broken person was still worthy of a good ending. The finale gave Rue a laced pill and a tragic conclusion, and Zendaya posted nothing. People who have followed her closely enough to know how she operates understand that the silence was not an accident. This is someone who knows how to use her platform and knows exactly how to engage when she wants to engage. When she goes quiet about something that should have been a major cultural moment for her career, it's because she chose to go quiet. It's because there was nothing she could say publicly that wouldn't either contradict what she actually felt or put her in a difficult position with the people she worked with. The honest ending, as Sam called it, may have been honest for the story he wanted to tell in the end. But it wasn't the story Zendaya had been telling people Rue's journey was building toward. And that gap between what she expected and what ended up on screen, in front of millions of people who had been invested in Rue's survival, partly because of how passionately Zendaya had championed it, is what the silence is really about. Drop a comment. Do you think Sam made the right call ending Euphoria the way he did? And did Zendaya deserve more of a say in how Rue's story ended?